Alright, hello, answering comments on my page. That's like my new thing. I answer comments on my page. Anybody leaves a comment on my page, I'll make a video about it. Shift4chizzle says, "Hey, I just want to ask this because it's been crossing my mind for a few weeks now. When you reincarnate, wouldn't you come back as a totally different person if you reincarnate as a human? Or even if you reincarnate as another race, wouldn't you personally be totally different to experience everything so we wouldn't really have an idea of what we were before? So like, if now there is a person who is very middle class, makes a normal income, and gives a lot of charities and stuff, wouldn't their past lives be of someone who is very high class, enslaves people, and doesn't give to the poor or anything, and doesn't take care of his or her people? Just wondering." Well, yeah, that's a pretty good analogy. Let's see, somebody's a middle class now and they give to charities. And because they give to charities now, in the past life, they were rich and they didn't give to charities. Because they have to learn from their lessons. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, that would make sense if like towards the end of their life, you know, they realized that they weren't giving enough to charity, and they had a life review, and they go, "Oh man, I didn't give it to charity," and they can change a lot. But if they're like really bad, they'd probably be reborn as one of the poor people who doesn't get the money. But it's really complicated. There was a book I just read, and I actually did a book review a week ago. It's on my channel called "Many Lives, Many Masters" by Brian Weiss, and he hypnotized some woman, and she talked about 10 to 12 of her lives in the past out of 87 lives that she'd have in the past on the earth, and they were very varied. She was really rich in one, she was really poor in one, she starved in one, she was murdered in one, and they had like specific repercussions on her life now. But as far as like past lives, I have heard that when you do have lives, they usually reoccur in groups of 4. So there are 22. I've heard there are 22 archetypes of humanity, and that's actually where the tarot cards come from, the 22 cards of tarot. So you would say the teacher archetype for 4 lives, and then you would at the end of the 4th life, you would feel like, okay, you know, I was a great life as a teacher, I'm satisfied. And then you reincarnate the next life and you want to be the athlete. So then you're an athlete for 4 lives, and then you know, by the 1st life, you're not really satisfied. You didn't really do it at best. And then 2nd, you're a little bit better. 3rd, better. And 4th, you're like, yeah, I was a great athlete. And then you're ready to move on to being the law enforcer for 4 lives. And that's what I've heard. And as far as karma goes with past lives and present life, I heard 80% of your karma is from your present life. Mainly from your childhood. I think childhood is very important. First 6 years, you want to be really good to a kid. Otherwise, you're going to have issues, even though you can develop issues from adult stuff. And then 20% of your personality and your mission and all the issues you have are from the past life. So 80 to 20. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you can reincarnate different races. I mean, I should talk about my personal past lives. You know, I've seen a bunch of different psychics, and they all tell me the same thing, you know, that I was a Native American in my past life. And I think one woman said I was a Native American in my past 4 lives. So my past 4 lives, I had the Native American thing, and now I'm white guy. So maybe I'm going to have the white guy thing for 4 lives. But in my Native American life in the past, one of them, I was a son of a chief, and I liked to, this is what some psychic lady said, I liked to push my body to the max until I was almost dead, and on my horse rides or whatever really far. And I'm interested in, you know, riding my bike really far now, or at least I'd like to as soon as I get my bike back. So that's kind of like I'm along those lines. So, you know, I guess you could have like the racial thing for 4 lives, and then, you know, a whole different thing not really related would be, you know, the hobbies that you have within the life for another 4 lives or whatever. So many. But yeah, one thing that's really interesting is to just analyze like what kind of life a certain behavior would create in the next life. Karma analyzation. I think it's industry or a subject that we are going to become more proficient in. I think it's a baby subject, or maybe even a not even born, an in utero subject right now. And the only way we can really find out is there are people who are really good at that, or people who actually maybe hypnotherapists who have actual experience with various people and exactly, you know, what this life created this life and that life created that life. If you develop, you know, I think one of this, ideas is if you develop like say a negative relationship with somebody, you're going to have that relationship again, and you're going to start out feeling, you know, negatively, basically feeling about each other the way that you did when you left off. And then you're going to have to resolve it through the relationship. It's kind of like, you know, when you have best friends and you grew up with them and then you didn't see them for a bunch of years, and then you hang out with them again and it was like they were never gone. You like talking and it was like there was no time that passed. Kind of like that with like karma with people in between lives, I think. Like, you're going to meet somebody on the street, you're not going to remember them because you met them in a past life, but you're going to have that same attitude psychically with them as you did when you parted ways in the last time. So it's kind of like soul-wise, it's like, well, you pick up where you left off, and then you know, just from your higher self guiding you, you just do what you have to do, and you resolve the relationship. This woman, there was this woman being interviewed by Brian Weiss. She had her throat slit by this guy back when she was a raider hundreds of years ago, and she's her present day. And then in another life, he was her father, and I don't know, maybe it was an antagonistic relationship. And then in her present life, he was her boyfriend, but he was married, and they had kind of a little bit of an antagonistic relationship. So I don't know. And like her sister in a past life was her best friend in this life and stuff like that. So I think, you know, as far as families go, you know, like people, they have, you choose your best friend and your best, you know, your clique, like in junior high or high school, and you hang out with the same group of people, you know, day after day after day. I mean, it's just, that's also the same thing, therefore, with lives. You reincarnate with the same people over and over again, and which kind of can be a little bit weird, you know, like if your mother in this life, thinking her is like your wife in your past life, you know, or your like wife in this life is like your mother in the past life. It could be a little bit wacky, and maybe that's why we don't remember our past lives, you know. You only remember as much as you can handle. But you know, and the more open-minded you become, the more revelations you have. It's basically dependent on that. It's like, how much you want to know? Oh, I want to know so much. Well, then open your mind to whatever you want to know. Are you sure you want to know that type of a thing, you know? So just be ready to know everything and just blast yourself open, and all of a sudden you're going to know, you know. The glass has to be empty in order to fill it. You can't have the glass filled with mud if you're going to fill it up with sparkling spring water, you know. You can't. So, you know, kind of like peace. If you want peace, you don't create peace by attacking other countries. You create peace by pretending that you're in peace. You know, the world is perfect. They're not going to attack us, and if they do, and kind of pretend like they're not, and then you'd be okay. Kind of like the aliens. You know, expect the aliens to be good, and then they're going to come. Anyways, past lives. Oh, shit. So anyways, so let's go on to the next question. He goes, also, I was just wondering your video on your views on Bashar. I was just watching your video on your views on Bashar, the alien gray. His planet, isn't it Zeta reticuli? Because a video says it is where the gray aliens come from. And if it is, we have already found the planet. It is on Google Sky. But we have found over 100 billion galaxies and their planets. And you know the andromedans? They are only 2.9, I think it's 2.9 million, light years away. We can see their galaxy with the naked eye at night, but they are in a fourth dimensional race, but we can see their system? Okay, number one, Andromeda is the closest large galaxy to us. But the Andromeda that Alex Collier talks about isn't I don't think it's the galaxy of Andromeda, it's the constellation of Andromeda, and that's a lot closer. It's like 500 light years away or something like that. But even though, if the aliens did come from the galaxy of Andromeda and they're in the higher dimension, well, number one, fourth dimension you can see. It's the fifth dimension that you can't see. Fourth dimension is pretty much the same as the third dimension, I think. It's just different. You can live longer, and you have more different DNA encodement. You have more silicon in your DNA that way. But anyways, galaxies, things that are different dimensions, exist in different dimensions, covering up the same space. Like my glasses exist in the third dimension, but they also exist in the fifth dimension. They have this aura around them. You know, that's what auras are all about. The aura is your body in a higher dimension. So, so, you know, it can be there, but you can't see it. But you do bring us something interesting up in that Bashar isn't from Zeta reticuli. The gray aliens are from Zeta reticuli. The gray aliens who crashed at Rodwell are actually from the Earth. But those aliens moved out, some of the aliens moved out from the Earth and moved to Mars and then moved to Zeta reticuli And also gray aliens, there's a whole different kinds of gray aliens. Gray alien is basically a human who had a fucked up transition into a higher level. They didn't do it naturally. They didn't do it the way that we're going to do it naturally. They did it with technology because they detonated nuclear bombs and they destroyed their planet, and they didn't become extinct because they're survival. They're good at survival. They're smart humans. And so then they went off, and this happened on different planets. Then they move around planets, and so Zeta Reticuli is just a planet where that happened, of certain aliens who came here. Bashar isn't from Zeta Reticuli, and Bashar isn't from the Earth either. Bashar is half gray, half human. They're not gray. They're half human, half gray. And the human part of Bashar are humans. And then the gray part of Bashar are humans from the Earth, from I think thousands of years in the future, maybe 52,000 years in the future. But they don't live out in Zeta. They live, I don't know where they live. I think it's towards I can't remember, towards Orion or something. Makes sense, about 300 light years or something like that. And now, if I understand Bashar correctly, when he said where they were from, he said they are from the fifth dimension, and we cannot see their planet because they're in another dimension. Now, what I said before is there's planets in this dimension, and then they also exist in another dimension. Well, according to what I understood Bashar say, and I can't quote him exactly, is that entire planetary systems, suns and planets, can exist only in the fifth dimension and not in the third dimension. So you can look up in the sky and look right through stars that don't exist in this dimension. If I understood what he said correctly, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. My idea was that if something exists in a higher dimension, it also exists in a lower dimension. It begins in the lower dimension, then goes in a higher dimension, like the planet Venus. There's aliens who live in the planet Venus, but in a higher dimension, because in this dimension you can't live there because it's boiling hot. At least, well, life can live there, but human life can't live there because it's boiling hot. So anyway, so I guess it goes both ways. You can have stuff that's only there, but I can't remember where it was, but he was just saying, yeah, you can have stuff that only exists in a higher dimension. By the way, their planet was created for them. It's not really, it could be, I don't think, maybe they don't even revolve around a star. It's just like a giant, it's basically a spaceship. It's like a giant planet that's like covered with jungles and forests and stuff, and hardly any buildings. But they don't really even live there. They live in spaceships hovering above the planet, and then they travel all over the place. So it's kind of like their planet is kind of like their house or their sanctuary. And they live in a higher dimension, so they kind of create their own light through the planet, and it's different rules. So that maybe they don't even need a sun. I don't know. Maybe they do have a sun, but I can't remember exactly what he said about that, or even what speech it was that he said it. So let's see. Did I answer everything? Yes, I think I did answer everything. All right, shift4chizzle. There we go. I wonder what I'm gonna label this video. Okay, peace out.